Hey everybody, Jim Powers with MaryvilleSaints.com and Saints Vision. We hope everybody's had a great Christmas and holiday season so far and enjoying the week between Christmas and New Year's. And it's great to get back out on the basketball court on New Year's Eve as our teams are going to be taking on Truman. And joining us, as he always does, is our women's basketball coach, Collin Lanam. And Collin, great to see you. Hope everybody had a great holiday. And it's been a pretty crazy month of December, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a relatively long month for us. Taking the 3 week break that we had between our COVID-19 protocol and the D2 NCAA winter break. Gave us a chance to heal up some injuries to get ourselves back from there. We're pretty banged up just from a typical athletic injury standpoint. So, it was. You never want to have that break happen, and in this season it's going to happen at some point in time. So I think for us the timing of it was about as good as it can get, and the fact that we only lost a week of our season as opposed to some other teams that are losing 2 or 3 at a time because of the timing of their encounters with positive testing. So we're going to take the positives out of it. We knew this year was going to be just a sense of adversity, one thing after another. So between COVID and everything that's going on, between regular daily life and the stresses of that, between athletic injuries and those things, there's just a lot of things coming around. So for us, the biggest thing is just to make sure that we're in the right state of mind from a personal level. Obviously we're as competitive as anybody, and we want to win games and we want to be prepared, but we also want to make sure that our team is where it needs to be in a healthy standpoint, physically and mentally.
And the one thing too with the advent of Zoom and different things along those lines, at least you guys were able to like do some Zoom stuff and you know give the players some things to do. That way they're coming back out of this break, yet not doing anything for 3 weeks. They've actually been able to do some stuff. And I know, and talking to Jesse a little bit ago, that was the same thing with the men's team.
And the hardest thing I think was the same issues we had over the summer. Just what facilities and equipment do the athletes have access to? So the access to the programming, to the coaches, to the feedback, that's easy now. Like you mentioned, Zoom changes everything. FaceTime before that, it took me a little while to get on board with that, but I'm a little bit more of a FaceTimer with the team when we talk as opposed to calls and texts. So that personal side of things is definitely there and something that you can fight through, and you can still have team conversations, film sessions, that kind of a thing. But just the current status, we've got some kids that are in major metro areas that are completely shut down, so they didn't have access to a gym. Schools, high schools that typically would open up their doors for our players aren't able to do that now. Not that they don't want to, they're just being told that they can't. And so it was tougher for some of our kids to get touches that they normally would have during that break period. Typically during that NCAA dead period, we're wanting everybody to recharge their batteries anyways. It's a good break in my mind from a mental and physical standpoint, and then you come back fresh and excited. So ours was just kind of a bit extended. And I think the biggest thing to overcome was just, day one, you could tell the first couple runs that we had, kind of some controlled scrimmages, is just the feel and getting touches and getting up and down with 9 other people on the floor, as opposed to being out in your backyard running sprints from fence to fence, or doing air squats or whatever it may be, because you don't have access to those kind of things. It's different dribbling a ball in your driveway than it is out on the hardwood with your teammates.
Right, absolutely. So, well, you guys get back at it this week. Makeup games with Truman, on Thursday, on New Year's Eve, and then a road trip down to the O'Reilly Center to take on Drury. Talk a little bit about those two matchups and what you're going to expect out of both Truman and Drury.
We're coming back into it and just kind of throwing ourselves into the fire. When we talked about rescheduling this game, it was one of those, we want to make sure that we take advantage of open opportunities. In a typical season, we would be playing right now anyways. The only apprehension we had was that we'd had 3 weeks off and not just the typical 7 days that we had. So, at first we were a little nervous, but once we knew that was coming, we had enough advance warning to talk to the girls. They were able to get themselves mentally prepared for that. So we've had a good couple of days of practice Monday and Tuesday. We'll get back after it again this afternoon, before we tip off tomorrow. But we know we're playing two of the division preseason number ones. So, we know they're going to be tough games. Our games against Truman, I think in my entire career, we've had one game that's been outside of single digit scoring. So we know, regardless of who's playing, regardless of what the situation is, regardless of any sort of adversity that comes around it, it's going to be a battle. Drury, haven't spent a ton of time watching them. Got to watch a little bit when we were down, or in the preseason when they played while we had a bye weekend. They're dangerous. The previous head coach was a defensive genius. They've got an offensive genius coaching them now. So you're combining those two things when you've got Paige Robinson, who's a national player of the year candidate, I would assume, on their team. That's a dangerous combination. So we know we've got it cut out for us. But we also have the confidence, I think, going into that game. We've had some success. Now we haven't, gotten over the hill, but we've done some really good things against Drury in the past. I don't think we're as intimidated maybe as teams have been in past years going into those games. And I think that's the difference. They're very talented offensively and defensively. They've got the guns, but where they get teams a lot is before you even step on the floor. There's a lot of intimidation when you play against a team that turns over teams 25 to 30 times a game. Well, we've kind of increased our style of play as well, where we're, 2 of our 3 games we forced over 20 turnovers. And I think even against Springfield, we probably were close to that number, if I remember off the top of my head. So, our style of play has changed a little bit. Our confidence has changed dramatically, increased over the past few years. And that really goes back to a tribute to our alumni who really set the tone for that. And so it's kind of been a progress over the past few years. But this is going to be a fun weekend. You're going to play these teams a couple times no matter what. So let's just get in and get after it. They're dealing with the same adversity that we are. Truman's coming off of a bit of a pause as well before the break. So, we're fighting the same battles off the floor. Now it should be fun to see. It's going to be a tough game. I don't know if it's going to be a good game. I don't know if it's going to be good basketball, but I know it's going to be competitive. Theo's a great coach, and they've got some really skilled players. So, I think it's just going to come down to, at the end of the day, who wants it a little bit more.
And me and you have talked a little bit about this. It seems like Truman, I mean, yeah, we have our natural rivalry with UMSL and maybe McKendree, but these Truman games over the last 3-4 years, I mean, you want to talk about just rivalry games, and that's what it kind of feels like when we play Truman, because they're so competitive. And like you said, I think you're exactly right. I think in the last 4 years, only one game has been outside single digits.
It always works out that way. We played them twice last year. Both were 1-point losses. First game we're playing without a starter. Second game they're playing without their all conference guard, and it's still a competitive game right down to it. So that's why, you pay attention to the numbers, you pay attention to the scouting report and this and that, and they're beat up, we're beat up, they're missing a couple kids, we're missing a couple kids. It doesn't matter. It won't matter. It's still going to be a competitive game, and that's kind of what the mindset is. There's no room for excuses at this point. Everybody's facing adversity, and it's just going to come down to who wants to overcome that adversity and just get after it and compete.
No doubt about it. Well, it's great catching up with you, and it'll be good to get back to our weekly routines here starting this week. And good luck tomorrow, and we'll see you at the Simon Center.
Sounds great, JP. Appreciate it.
No problem. Collin Lanam, our head women's basketball coach, joins us. And once again, Truman tomorrow, 1:00 start. Hate to say it, no fans still allowed in the Simon Center, but we'll have you covered on Saints Vision and the GLVC Sports Network. And then on Sunday, the team will head down to Springfield in the O'Reilly Center to take on Drury. That game will be also on the GLVC Sports Network. Plus, we'll have you covered all weekend long on our social media channels on how our women's basketball team is doing as we get back into it and ready to go for a fantastic 2021 season. For Coach, I'm Jim Powers. Thanks so much for tuning in to MaryvilleSaints.com and Saints Vision. Have a great week. And as always, go Saints.